Hey everybody, welcome back to Heresy Painting and Gaming, where today we're going to be doing something a little bit different and have a discussion because of the announcement that Games Workshop made on Preview Monday for June 8th, and that is the upcoming Maximus Battle Group for Horus Heresy featuring the updated Mark IV Marines. Now, we've had Mark IV Marines since about November of 2015 with the Betrayal at Calth box set, but these are updated and upscaled to better fit with the current lineup and they look awesome. We're going to go through every single one of the Battle Group box sets and talk about the contents, and at the end we'll rank them based on if you're just getting into Horus Heresy or starting a new faction. With all that out of the way, let's get this started. The first Battle Group box we got was the Legiones Astartes Battle Group with a release date of October 28, 2023, featuring 32 miniatures. This was the first time that we saw the current Mark III Marines as well as the Daredevil Dreadnought and Village configuration. We also got a special weapons upgrade sprue, which had 5 of each weapon and a Land Raider Proteus, which could be built one of 3 ways. It was a great value and a great mix of units. The next one that we got was basically a new army launch box, and that was the Solar Auxilia Battle Group, which was released on March 16th of 24, officially featuring 28 miniatures, but you actually got 29 if you have an extra base. And if you've been in Warhammer long enough, you have extra bases. Now, everything in this box was brand new to plastic, and a lot of people were excited for it. I certainly know I was. This box had a command squad, which if you had an extra base could also build a Legatus Marshal, which I built and painted on a previous video. It also had a 20-man last rifle section, which is your basic infantry. We also got a Atheon Heavy Sentinel, which had a ton of options, and a Lehman Russ Strike Tank, which again had a lot of options. Finally, we got a Dracosan Armored Transport, which is a pretty big, beefy model. And this was one where a lot of people bought multiple times, and it was for good reason. The third box that we got was the Knights Battle Group, releasing on August 17, 24, featuring 2 large minis. It was also the most expensive money-wise, and didn't feature any new models at the time, but it did have a Knight Castigator and a Knight Acheron. Because of this, they took a long time to sell out, but eventually they did. They're not available anymore. But it took a while. You can still find them out in the wild for a while. However, the next box that we got shortly after was another awesome one, and it was an army launch box, and it was the Adeptus Mechanicum Battle Group. It was released on August 24th of 24, so basically a week after the Knights, and it featured 29 minis, never featured in plastic before. We got 20 tech thralls. It's sort of like your slow basic infantry. We got 6 Thalax with all the options, as well as 2 Castellax with other options, and finally, we got a Triaris Conveyor, which is a big transport, and it was a fun build. After that, the Mechanicum got some more love with the Mechanicum Heavy Support Group coming out on March 8th of 2025, and it only featured 3 minis, but they were awesome ones. But this one was aimed at people who were already Mechanicum players, and it couldn't be played out of the box. The Mechanicum Heavy Support featured a Cryo Strike Tank with a lot of options, a Thanatar Cavus, which is the second variant of the Thanatar to come out in plastic, and a Carachnos Assault Tank based on the Triaros chassis. And it was a good value, but it was definitely in each box. After that, there was a bit of a drought, but a new edition of Horus Heresy had dropped, so I forgive Games Workshop, and that was the Legiones Astartes Siege Assault Group, with a release date of January 10th, 26, featuring 23 minis. This was the first time that we saw the current Cataphractii Terminators as well as the Breachers, which are based on the current Mark III bodies, just with an upgrade sprue. The Siege Assault Group came with 10 Breachers, 6 Cataphractii Terminators with Power Mauls, and 6 Cataphractii Terminators with Power Fists, and a Close Combat Leviathan Dreadnought. 3 weeks after the Siege Assault Group, on January 31st, 26, we got a bit of an unusual battle group, as it was a bit smaller than the other ones, and that was the Skitarii Battle Group. This box featured 18 all-new minis, including the Battle Pilgrim Marshal, 16 Battle Pilgrims, which could be taken in 2 blocks of 8 or 1 big block of 16, and a Voltarax Stratus Automata. This one came in significantly cheaper than the rest of the Battle Group sets, and featured all new models. And this brings us to quite possibly the most stunning range yet, because on April 4th, 26th, the Legio Custodes got their range refresh. The Legio Custodes Battle Group featured 15 all-new plastic miniatures, and they were just gorgeous. We got a shield captain with a sword and shield, 6 Custodian Guard with the spears, 6 Sentinel Guard with the swords and shields, a Contemptor Galactus Dreadnought with the sword and shield, but it could also be built as the Achilles variant, which had the spear, and a Caladius Annihilator Graph Tank, and it was a really popular box. And then that brings us to Games Workshop's announcement on June 8th of 26, which was the Maximus Battle Group featuring the Mark IV Marines. We don't have a release date yet as of this recording, but the box will have 32 minis, including 20 Mark IV Tactical Marines, 10 Mark IV Assault Marines with the Warhawk jump packs, which is the same as the Mark VI ones, a Contemptor Dreadnought, and a Sakaran Battle Tank. This one is going to be popular because a lot of people have been wanting the Mark IVs. I know I've been waiting for that, and I know it's going to sell out quick. But anyway, now that we've described all the boxes and the release dates and their contents and everything, we're going to do a little bit of ranking, but we're not going to get into point values or the meta. We're simply going to rank them as if you are new to Horus Heresy and are choosing to buy one or starting a new faction. So here we go. At number 9, we have the Knights Battle Group. While the Knights in it are cool and they're gorgeous models, it was easily the most expensive box and it only had 2 minis. Granted, they're Titans, but the number of minis and price point were definitely a deal breaker for some. At number 8, we have the Mechanicum Heavy Support Group. While this one cost the same as the main battle boxes, it was definitely a reinforcement box and couldn't be played out of the box. You had to already have had an army, and the other reason that it was only 3 models. Even though they were big and awesome, it still kind of seemed like it was less. Coming in at number 7, we got the Siege Assault Group. As an Imperial Fist player, I loved this box. It featured the Breachers as well as the Cataphractii Terminators, but this one was also reinforcements and needed other things to make it a viable army. And that's why it came at number 7. Number 6 is the Adeptus Mechanicum Battle Group, and it just barely missed the number 5 mark for one reason. It didn't feature an HQ unit. It had a variety of troops, heavy weapons, and a beefy transport, but not having a leader unit means you'd have to have a leader or add one to it. At number 5, I have the Skitarii Battle Group. While this one had a leader unit and it had 1 or 2 troop units depending on how you built that unit, and a flyer, it kind of felt small. However, the cheaper price point meant that you could get this one multiple times without breaking the bank too bad, and that's why it's ranked at number 5 above the Adeptus Mechanicum one. Number 4 is ironically the Maximus box featuring the Mark IV Marines. The box has a great mix of units including infantry, jump infantry, a dreadnought, and a decent tank, but it doesn't have absolutely everything. It has enough to get across the board quickly with those jump pack Marines and a lot of firepower in the Sakaran and the Dreadnought. There's also plenty of rank and file Marines to score objectives, but the lack of a leader unit prevents this one from being what I would call a perfect box, but it's still an awesome value. At number 3, we have the Legionis Astartes Battle Group. It featured a great mix of units, including a heavy transport with the Land Raider Proteus, which is a great tank. So not only is it a transport, it's also a tank. The Dreadnought could be outfitted several different ways, and the special weapons sprue, you could really make an all-comers force out of the group. What would have made the box a perfect box would have been to add a leader unit, but otherwise it would have been a perfect box. Now my top 2, I had a really hard time deciding between these two, but I had to pick a number 1 and number 2. And I would consider both of these perfect boxes. But I had to pick one at number 1, number 2, and at number 2 I chose the Custodes Battle Group. This one was chock full of elite infantry with the Custodian and Sentinel Guard, a dreadnought that can pretty much destroy anything you point it at, a pretty powerful tank, and a leader. The only thing missing from it was a transport, and that's kind of why the first number 1 edged it out, but it was still pretty close. The winner in the list, however, is the Solar Auxilia Battle Group, and I would consider that one the perfect box. This box had absolutely everything, and it was definitely one to buy multiples of. It had a leader unit and his retinue, because remember it had like a little extra model, a full infantry squad, a walker with so many options, a tank with a lot of options, and a huge transport. This one truly was an all-comers box, and you could kit it out many different ways. And it's definitely one that if you could have bought multiples of. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and all the rankings and everything. Like I said, it was just something a little bit different, but I wanted to kind of have a little discussion. But anyway, let me know what you all think and how you would rank the boxes and what your favorite ones. And as always, happy painting.